Hey guys, welcome back to Gyros Technology Solutions. So I'm doing my third video today in this three-part little mini series of securing Elasticsearch. And again, as a recap, if you haven't seen my video on doing minimal security, go back and look at that one. If you haven't seen the one on basic security for Elasticsearch, go back and look at that one as well. Both of those need to be done before moving on to this part of securing Elasticsearch. So real quick, I'm gonna go back and recap the web pages as well. So again, scrolling up to the very top here, we went ahead and did let's go down a little bit. We went ahead and did the generating certificates for HTTP, and then did all that number yesterday. And then we went ahead and did the Elasticsearch stuff and the Kibana stuff. We added these lines into Elasticsearch, and then we also added our password into the Elasticsearch key store. So make sure you do those things. And then we also went ahead and did encrypted HTTP client communications for Kibana. And so make sure that line is added in like we did in the previous video. And also make sure all your connections to your Elasticsearch hosts are on using HTTPS. That's important. All right, and then we did the encrypting traffic between your browser. That's where I did the CSR. I created the CSR and went and signed it with the firewall, and then brought the actual cert back from the firewall and all that good stuff. And then we added these two lines in, and also remember that we actually changed the cert name and the key name to our corresponding name. So it wasn't Kibana server, and there it was actually labseam1.cert and labseam1.key. So keep those things in mind as you're moving forward, and don't forget to add the server SSL enabled at the bottom of your Kibana YAML file. Alright, so this next thing is going to be slightly tedious, and the reason why I say it's tedious is because you have to create a role per beat and then a role and a user per beat, and that's per beat also per little thing down here. So basically, you have to create a setup role for Metricbeat and a user for Metricbeat setup, and then you also do the same thing for monitoring and the same thing for writer and the same thing for reader. And so you do all those three things, or I'm sorry, all those four things for that one beat, but for the setup and the role, and then it'll be less confusing whenever I actually show you and do it. And then you also have to do that for file beat and winlog beat or whatever. And what that's doing is allowing your beats to connect securely to Elasticsearch and then do its thing. Because right now, if I flip over to my stack monitoring, you're going to see monitor with Metricbeat, and that's basically because it can't communicate with it. So if I go over here to my Discover, and Discover is where you see all your, I don't know if I call it raw logs necessarily, but it's basically where you would come to see your log input. And so if I go back to 7 days, excuse me, then you're going to see, whoa, 7 days ago. So actually, I actually started working on this a while ago, which is why you don't see any logs here up until 7 days ago. So what you're looking for is doing the last 15 minutes, and then what you're wanting to see is this go away and to see it start populating again. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it because you guys know I don't like making a bunch of fluff. I like doing the technical stuff and getting it out of the way. So we're gonna flip this over to Metricbeat, and so once we get done doing what we need to do, then you'll see them start coming in again. And then there's some things I ran into in the past that I'll kind of point out if I remember to as I'm going along with it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So what we're going to do is go over here, and we're going to click on your little lines, and we're going to go down to stack management. And I'm actually going to go ahead and pull this over a little bit and put that in its own little window because I'm going to have to follow this very, very closely. All right, so we're going down to roles first, since this was calling for per se. And another thing that I'll point out really fast is that this setup role. So whenever you're doing, before you do any security, also so whenever you just build a brand new stack and you don't even have minimal security setup, so you never did a Elasticsearch setup passwords command. So before any of that, I always do my file beat setup command, my Metricbeat setup command, my winlog beat setup command. I do all those commands prior to doing this, so I don't have any security issues. In the past with certificates, especially with winlog beat, because that's what we use to pull in all of our Windows logs from all of our servers and PCs out on the network to one place. So in the past, I've ran into there being like a 509 issue with the certificates. Haven't figured out a way around that just yet, but that's why I go ahead and do all the dashboard setups and everything prior to security. But anyway, just keep that in mind moving forward. If you do all that prior to security, then you can skip the setup role and the setup user. But I'm just pointing that out before I get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off with a monitoring role, and I'm going to try to keep this pretty quick since you're basically doing the same thing for every beat. So I'm going to do create role, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this guy. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit further where it says Metricbeat setup. I'm sorry, not Metricbeat setup. I'm going to skip the Metricbeat setup and go straight to Metricbeat monitoring. All right, so copy that, throw it in there, and then this is what you have to be careful doing. So right here, do this word or line by line. So we're going to do the monitor privilege for the monitor item for the cluster privilege. So right here, you're just going to type in monitor, click that, bam, and then we're not worried about run as privileges. We're just going to go down here, and this is where you select your index or your indices. And then you're gonna click on that and then go to privileges, and then this is right here is your set of privileges you want to create. So we're going to do Metricbeat monitoring. Let's see here. Huh. That is not showing up for some reason. Oh, I'm sorry guys. I was looking down here. Go back up here. That's my fault. So we're not there yet. We need to go. That's for the user. All right, so for Metricbeat, we're going to go to create index and then create doc. All right, so that's all you need to do for this first little part. I was sorry, I was looking a little too far down. So that's all you're going to do for this, and then you're going to scroll down and hit create role. All right, and then you can do it line by line of saying, hey, I'm going to create the role and the user for each. This is a little, for me, it's a little easier to just go ahead and create all of the roles that are needed. So I'm going to go ahead and skip down to the writer role and grab that. And keep in mind that whenever you do the users, you're going to have to come up with individual passwords unless you just want to use one password for everything. In a lab environment, sure, why not? In a production environment, I would absolutely say use different passwords for each one. All right, so again, we're coming here, and then cluster privilege is going to be monitor and read ILM. And then again, down here, the indices is going to be Metricbeat. And then right here, we're going to do, for privileges, we're going to give it the create doc, create index, and then the view index metadata. All right, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to scroll down, create role. So again, this can be slightly tedious, so just keep that in mind, but it's got to be done if you want it to work correctly. All right, so copy that, and then again, create role. And the privilege is going to be read. I'm sorry, I messed up again. So for the reader role, you don't put it in the cluster privileges. You actually just do the indices right here, and then you give it the read privilege, and then you scroll down a little bit and see where it says under Kibana, click add privileges. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to go add privilege. You're going to select the default. You're going to click all, and then add Kibana privilege, and then we're going to create role. All right, and then you can go back and so that's the last one. This part, we'll get to this part in just a moment. But that's the last one for for Metricbeat as far as roles go. So now we're going to go back and do the actual users. And if you want to go back and actually check on this, you can type in Metricbeat and it'll show you the ones that you just did. So if you want to go back and look at that, you can. All right, so now I'm going to scroll back up and go to, make sure I don't skip over it again. All right, so that's set up, and then it's super easy to get lost on this web page if you're not careful. All right, so I'm going to do, again, grab the Metricbeat monitoring, hit copy. I'm going to go over here to users. All right, and I'm going to go create user. And I'm going to say Metricbeat monitoring, and then I'm just going to create let's see here. I'm going to go generate a password. So let's see here. I'm going to go off screen to my, so I'm going to go ahead and generate a password. Well, I'm not going to generate one. I'm just going to randomly put one in. See, that right there will work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And for the purpose of this lab, I'm just going to go ahead and use the same password through everyone. But again, if you're in a production environment, don't do that. So we're going to hit confirm password, and then don't forget to give them these privileges or these roles. So we're going to go ahead, I'm sorry, yeah, I meant roles. So we're going to do Metricbeat monitoring, and we're also going to do Kibana admin, and we're going to do monitoring user. and then we're going to go ahead and hit create user. Alright, next we're going to go create the writer role. I'm sorry, the writer user. I keep getting these roles and users mixed up. Alright, got that, and then we're going to copy the password I just jotted down. And then right here for the writer, we're going to do Metricbeat writer, and then we're going to do remote monitoring collector, and then remote monitoring agent, and then create user. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead and create the Metricbeat reader user. And then we're going to give it Metricbeat reader and monitoring user and Beats admin. Alright, create user. Alright, so now let's go back and pull those back up. So we're going to do Metricbeat, and then you're going to see the username and then the roles it was given. Alright, so at this point, we've created all the roles and all the users needed for Metricbeat, aside from the actual setup one. So we're going to skip that one. So now we're going to scroll down a little bit further, and we're going to see this right here. So what this means is we're going to have to go back to the YAML file for Metricbeat and then make these changes. So right here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this and hit copy, and then we're going to go over to back to our, oh, I can pull it over, there we go. Get back to this guy, if I can get it to pop over like it's supposed to. There it is, okay. Alright, so I'm going to go back to lab scene 1. I'm going to do nano etsy metricbeat .yaml, and then we're going to scroll on down, or page down all the way down here. Alright, so there's a couple things that we need to take note of. I always give myself an extra space. So we're going to go ahead and grab, I'm going to start the username and grab all the way down here and go to this spot, and then I'm going to copy and paste. And then you might have to adjust the YAML file indentions a little bit, which is fine. And I'm going to point out something here too. Again, this right here only says elasticsearch.ca.pem. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and specify the full path. And that PIM file is not in that Metricbeat directory yet, but I went ahead and put it there just in case. Or for when I do put the PIM file in there, rather. Alright, I'm going to take this password out. I'm going to go copy our password that we just created, which is this one. And then there we go. Alright, and then going back to this, so all this stuff is correct, and then we have our Metricbeat writer, all good. And then last but not least, we need to go ahead and come down here and take out this comment off this HTTPS, because now we're using HTTPS to forward logs instead. Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and write that file. And then this right here is talking about putting this, so if we had created the setup role and user, this is where what we would plug into the other part of the Kibana file. And I'll show, well, I'm sorry, not the Kibana, the Metricbeat YAML file. So let's go ahead and do Metricbeat, and I'll show you where that is. I'm just not going to do it. So you would scroll down. On dashboards, you would essentially say enabled. Under, you would uncomment this, and you'd hit turn that from false to true, and then leave that enabled. And then down here, where the host is, essentially what you would do is uncomment this, and then you would pull everything from host down to password, and then you throw it right there. So what that's doing is allowing a secure connection to set up dashboards. But again, I'm not going to do that right now. The other thing I wanted to do was show you. So if you're using Metricbeat to do your Elasticsearch monitoring, then what you're going to want to do is you should have already enabled the Elasticsearch XPack module under Metricbeat, and so I'll go ahead and show you what to do to get that up to speed. So you'll do modules.d, and then you'll do Elasticsearch, and then tac XPack, and right here. So this is what you want to do. You're going to want to go down to hosts and hit HTTPS. And then you're going to do space, and then you're going to grab the next bit of the next snippet, which is this right here. And all we're going to do, all this is set up already, or should be already. We're going to just grab SSL and pull it down and then copy this piece. And again, this right here is going to be Etsy and then Metricbeat / and that's all you need to do right there for that. So let's go ahead and do a Control O to write it and then Control X to get out of it. Alright, so now all that's done. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to copy our PIM file from the Kibana directory into the Metricbeat directory. So let's go ahead and do cp Etsy Kibana, and then we're going to do elasticsearch.pim, and then we're going to copy that into the Etsy Metricbeat directory. And then now, the best part after doing all that is we're going to do a systemctl restart Metricbeat. And this might take a minute to pop in there, but just be patient, give it just a moment. So all this is done. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the stack monitoring. All right, and there we are. We have one. Well, hang on a second. Let's see here. Let's see what it's got going on. So it says new alerts created because basically once you get to this point, it starts basically doing everything on the back end that it's supposed to do, and bam, we have one online right there. So now if I do exit setup mode, it's going to have this one online because we just did that one, and then the other two we need to go do. So here's a pretty simple way to do that. All you need to do is go to Elasticsearch. I'm sorry, not Elasticsearch. I keep saying Elasticsearch like that's where I'm going to go every time. So do metricbeat.yaml, not y, can't type. And we're going to scroll all the way down here. And then what we're going to do is take this host and we're just going to copy the entire thing. There are easier ways to do this, but just, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to copy the certificate down. Actually, no, I'm going to use from username to certificate. I'll get this right eventually. All right, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to open this guy up, and now I'm going to open up a new notepad and paste it in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to LabSeam2, nano, let's see here, Metricbeat, metricbeat.yaml. And we're going, I usually hit page down to help me get down a little bit faster. Alright, so right here, again, this is completely, well, not completely blank, but basically in the state the first one was in. So we're just going to go ahead and paste that in there. Bam, all there already. And then all I need to do is come down here. If I had done the entire thing, I would have had to backspace the entire thing, and that would just too much time and too much trouble. Alright, so we're already good here. So let's go ahead and do Control O. And then don't forget to do your module. So we're going to do Metricbeat modules.d and then Elasticsearch. And this Elasticsearch TACX pack, that's what is we're monitoring the Elasticsearch instance with, so that's why we're doing this. And again, same stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do HTTPS. And now I'm going to go back down here and grab this. Yep, that was it. Make sure. So a lot of these look the same, so you have to be careful. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this whole thing again. XPack. And then go down to the bottom. Paste it in there, and then I'm going to again specify the path. Alright, Control O it, bam, done. And then, so again, since I didn't put Kibana on this one, I'm going to have to go back and basically copy that PIM file. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's not there. I know it's a little silly, but I just want to verify it. So yeah, we don't have that PIM file. So I'm going to take a step back really quick, and I'm going to say, hey, you need to go do this. So wherever you put a beat at, you need to make sure there's a PIM file, a certificate file that will allow your beat to connect correctly to the Elasticsearch node. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a SCP. I'm going to do Metricbeat and Elasticsearch, and then again, we're the same thing we did before. I'm going to do 192.168.57.71, and now I'm just going to throw it in the home directory. And since it's going to be the same pin file, I'm just going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it on the lab seam 3, which is .72, same thing. Now I'm also going to go verify the credentials on that just to make sure they're correct, so I can change them on the other 2 nodes if I need to. Alright, so the PIM file is owned by root in the root group, and it's readable by everybody. So again, what happens whenever you move a file? Look at there, it's got Dylan. So let's go ahead and do chown root and then that file, and let's do change group to root. And we're going to go ahead and I think it's already, yeah, it's already readable by everybody. So we're going to do move elasticsearch.pim file, and we're going to move it to Metricbeat directory. Same exact thing with lab 3. We're going to do ls-tac lah, which we know it's there already, but I'm just verifying. So chown root elasticsearch, change group root elasticsearch.pim, tac.ca.pim. I keep saying that too fast. And we're going to move it. And so you don't have to do this every time. Once that PIM file is on that host, you can just copy it to, you know, if you put FileBeat on a server or a host, or if you put, you know, WinLogBeat or PacketBeat or AuditBeat or whatever, you can just either copy that same PIM file to the directory of the beat that you're using, or you can just target it. So if I have the PIM file in the Metricbeat directory, you can just target that same file path under FileBeat. I would rather make it more uniform and just say, hey, every directory has its own PIM file, but that's just me. Alright, so let's go back. Let's make sure, well, actually, first on LabSeam 3, let's go ahead and make sure that the configuration is correct on LabSeam 3 first. Which I don't think, yeah, I didn't do this one yet. So let's go ahead and grab this one. The good news is we just put the PIM file there, so we don't have to worry about doing that again. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all this, copy it, paste it. I see it's already set up. So literally all we have to do is come in here and just backspace this HTTPS, and then we're going to control O that, and then we're going to exit out of there. And then once again, don't forget to do your module. Same stuff. And if you're in the IT field or the cybersecurity field, and you know Linux, this stuff shouldn't be very difficult. Everything I'm doing, you're probably somewhat familiar with as far as, you know, navigating through the Linux directories and whatnot. If you're brand new to IT or brand new to you know, Linux or whatever, I would highly recommend you going back and just playing with Linux first to make sure you can get used to it. It took me a while to get used to it, but probably I would say between about a year and a half of getting decent with anything Linux. You know, and I'm talking about actually going through and understanding how things work and why things work that way and all that good stuff. So I would highly recommend you going back and taking a look at that. Anyway, so just got that done, and then that's in there. So now we're going to go back to LabSeam 2, and all that good stuff's in there. So I'm just going to go into systemctl, restart Metricbeat, and I'm just going to straight up copy that command and take it over to LabSeam 3, restart. And then now we're going to go back to our Elasticsearch instance. And what you should see happen in a moment is this will populate with the other 2 nodes. So I'm going to give that just a second to populate and go from there. Oh, bam, there they are. That was actually pretty quick. So you can see that now that we have everything in place, all those are popping in there. And it's going to be the same exact process with FileBeat, with you know, WinLogBeat. So Windows is a little bit different. And I'll do a short video on installing this with Windows or WinLogBeat, so it's not, you know, overly difficult. And for example, so like you see on here, I'll show you. Let's do a ls. No, we're gonna do a cat. So like right here, you see that there's quote symbols around the file path. On Windows, you don't need quote symbols. So just little minor changes like that, things I had to do trial and error on, and that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this. But anyway, guys, I think that's all I have at the moment. I was meaning for this video to be relatively short. If anybody has any questions or comments about doing the other beats, again, the only thing you're not doing with the other beats that I did here is going to this XPack module, because the other beats don't have Elasticsearch XPack modules that I'm aware of. So you won't be doing this part, but as far as the actual configuration goes, you will be doing this part. So just keep that in mind going forward. But anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm always here to try to answer any questions you have, and of course, getting back into the videos. But anyway, have a good one, guys, and thanks.